Nowhere, a grocery store in West Pullman shuts down.
The area is already considered a food desert, so the decision leaves residents even more concerned.
Neighbors are still showing up here this afternoon, frustrated to find that the store is closed. Residents already dealt with Walgreens closing on the same corner last year, and now the largest remaining tenant in the same plaza has moved out.
It's about discrimination. If their lease goes through December, why the heck are you closing it?
A spokesperson for Aldi says company officials made the difficult decision to close the store, citing crime and poor sales. And in an email writes, our decision was based on several factors, including repeated burglaries and declining sales. Out of concern for our employees and customers, keeping this store open was no longer a sustainable option.
One of the biggest tragic realities of crime in Black Chicago is when a neighborhood that already doesn't have enough resources has a store like Aldi that closes, a store that's one of the staples in the neighborhood that people depend on, where they have, those individuals in that neighborhood, they might not have a car, they might have to depend on public transportation. And now that store closes and they have to travel farther and farther away to get the basic things that they need. And you'll hear people refer to this phenomenon as a food desert. But here's the question. Is it the fault of the corporation for closing the store, or is it something else? Before we go a little further, let's go ahead and hear what Aldi said about this latest closing of this store in West Pullman.
We reached out to Aldi. A spokesperson would not say why they closed the West Pullman store, but said in part, quote, the recent closures are unique situations and not indicative of any larger trends. We strive to create an environment where our employees can thrive. We are proud to say all impacted employees have been offered a transfer to a store of their choice and no jobs will be lost.
So you heard in that statement from Aldi, they gave this really anodyne answer. Hey, we're just looking out for our employees. We want them to strive. They didn't really point to anything specific that was happening in the West Pullman neighborhood of Chicago. But if you've been paying attention to the news at all, and for those of you outside of Chicago, the West Pullman neighborhood is one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. I just did a very, very simple search, didn't go back that far, just a few months. And these are just a few examples of the stories that I found of crime that's happening in Chicago right now.
Breaking news from the West Pullman neighborhood in Chicago. 4 people have been shot at 119th and Michigan. It is the second shooting at that intersection in recent days.
Woman is dead after a drive-by shootout in West Pullman. Police say that woman was sitting on a porch on South Indiana near 118th Place.
A child and an adult were shot and critically injured overnight inside a home in the West Pullman neighborhood in the city's south side.
Police are investigating the shooting of a teenager in the West Pullman neighborhood.
Those are just a few examples. There's even a recent story of a woman who was shot. She didn't survive the shooting by a 15-year-old. This was a female who was a postal worker. She was at work in uniform, and this 15-year-old kid shot her. Take a quick look at this.
Leaving 48-year-old postal worker Octavia Redmond shot multiple times while on the job. It happened outside of a home just after 11:30 this morning near 121st and Harvard.
A 15-year-old boy stands in front of a judge, now charged with first-degree murder. He's accused of fatally shooting 48-year-old USPS letter carrier Octavia Redmond back in July. Prosecutors say the boy was dressed in all black the day of the shooting and that he went to the home of a witness to change his shoes. His cell phone shows he was texting someone Redmond's delivery route and location before getting out of a stolen white Durango to shoot her multiple times. The shooting was captured on home surveillance.
If you're still here and you find value in this video, do us a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video, but most importantly, turn on your notification bell so you will be made aware the next time that we have an upload. We are continuing to try to hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers this month, and we want you to be part of our group, of our tribe. Thanks so much. This is so tragic that we have to see this happen over and over again in Black America, in inner city Black America. The question we need to ask ourselves is, who has the greater responsibility for what's happening in inner city Black America? The residents of the communities or the corporations? Corporations like Aldi are not going into neighborhoods in Chicago because they are egalitarian and altruistic and they're trying to seed into these local communities. No, they are going into these communities to make money. And as long as they don't feel safe, they're not going to remain. So that's another question. How do we regain safety in these neighborhoods? We have to look to our local politicians, to our mayors, to our leaders. And those individuals have to stand up for law and order. If you don't have law and order, you can't have anything else. We see this happening all the time. Every time a Target leaves, every time an Aldi leaves. You saw earlier in the video that just a year before, a Walgreens left that was across the street from the Aldi that just closed. We have to have law and order. What does law and order mean? That means the individuals who are committing these crimes have to be arrested, they have to be held accountable, and they have to be incarcerated. We cannot continue this revolving door of individuals who are being arrested for committing these property crimes, and then we let them right back out on the street and we use the same old tired excuses. Oh, they live in poverty. They don't have any opportunity. Guess what? That's not an excuse for breaking the law. And then who are going to be the individuals who are going to be hurt the most when stores like Aldi leave the neighborhood? It's going to be the individuals who ride the bus. Now they're going to have to ride the bus farther. It's going to be that senior citizen who doesn't have family members who can take them to the store. It's going to be that individual who's riding the CTA train. And we all know the CTA trains are not safe in the city of Chicago. It's going to be that individual who's walking to the store by themselves and they have to constantly look over their shoulders. We have turned into a society that is protecting the villains as opposed to the victims. And that's one of the reasons why the Republicans won this last election, is because they are standing up for law and order. We have to have some semblance of safety for individuals and before corporations invest their resources into these neighborhoods that need these resources the most. The people in these neighborhoods, they need the pharmacies. They need the grocery stores. They should be the number one individual standing up and saying, get this crime under control so I don't have to ride a bus for 10 miles just to go pick up my prescription and just to pick up my groceries. I don't want you to look the other way just because the person who's committing the offense in a black neighborhood happens to be black. If that individual is a black criminal, then hold them accountable. We've got to stop looking the other way. And it's the people, it's the black people and the minorities in these inner cities who are being impacted the most and who are being hurt the most.